I'm Emily.
And I'm Hannah.
We are best friends and dietitians. We have a goal of challenging nutrition misinformation and fitness trends with an evidence-based approach.
Each episode, we will dish up our thoughts about the latest facts on a popular health-related topic.
We're the Up-Beet Dietitians.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Up-Beet Dietitians podcast.
Hello, everyone. Today we have a very exciting topic, and based off of the episode title, you probably already know what it is. Today we're going to be talking about BMI. We're going to be talking about kind of what it is, how it was created, what the purpose behind the creation of it was, kind of the flaws in BMI. A lot of the flaws in BMI that's probably will be half this episode.
Yeah.
And then we'll be kind of discussing more accurate ways, which is kind of a spoiler, but more accurate ways that you can assess your health rather than just BMI. So let's get into it, because I already know we both have a lot to say today. So BMI, also known as body mass index, is the ratio of height to weight. If you more specifically, it's kilograms divided by meters squared. That's it.
Yeah.
So it is currently used to diagnose if an individual is underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obese. And in the obese range, they have multiple classes of obesity: class 1, class 2, and class 3, which is then this class, or I guess this category more so from all the different ones, is used to evaluate an individual's risk for disease, which is controversial because there is no evidence that shows that weight causes obesity. There's only a correlation. And as you know, correlation does not equal causation.
Yes. Like right off the bat, like this is already a big flaw with BMI. Not only does it say underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese, which is problematic in itself because what is a normal weight? Like everyone's meant to be diverse. But everyone assumes that if you are obese, that you have a high risk of disease. But if obese is just based on BMI, which is this ratio of height to weight, and that's problematic. Like someone who, I'll get to this later, I think, who's like a bodybuilder, whose BMI is like in the 40s and they are class 3 obese, they probably don't have a very high risk of disease. So again, there, like Emily just said, there's no evidence to actually show the causation of weight to disease.
Yeah.
Just a correlation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get into the categories more specifically though. So like Emily said, there are a handful. So there's underweight, which is when your BMI is less than 18.5. There's a normal weight category, which is what we all are supposed to ideally be at. And that's when your BMI is 18.5 to 24.9. And then we've got 3 classes of obesity, anywhere from 30 to 40 and above. So those are the classes, and that's all I want to say about that. Those are the classes.
Yeah, I don't really know what else.
There's not much to say. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. It's just, again, like your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. And if that seems pretty random, it's because it kind of is. So BMI was founded in the 1830s, so almost 200 years ago. So we can see how that's problematic. By a Belgian statistician, sociologist, astronomer, and mathematician. So again, problematic, not a physician. By the name that I'm going to pronounce wrong of Lambert Adolphe Jacques Quetelet.
I feel like he was French.
Yes.
Is he French?
Well, no, Belgian.
Oh, Belgian. Sorry, that did not just. I was going to say Jacques.
Anyway. Oh yeah, the Jacques.
Adolphe Jacques
Quetelet.
I don't know how to say like any type. I can only do Spanish, and that is it.
Oh yeah, me too.
I have no idea how to do, but
Adolphe Jacques Quetelet created the Quetelet index. I think the T is silent. I think it's Quetelet.
Oh, oh, that sounds much.
I have literally no idea. I have no reason to think that. It just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then anyway, it was known as the Quetelet index for a while. And the reason he did this was just to kind of like determine what the average man should be. And Emily, if I'm wrong about this, let me know, but it was like for like an average like white man, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
was white European men.
Okay, so I think we're gonna get to that in the why is BMI garbage section. But also this Jacques Quetelet guy also explicitly said that BMI could not and should not be used to indicate the level of fatness in an individual. So to say that someone is obese, which means that they have excess fatness, is not why BMI was even created. So we can't make that correlation there.
That's what made me one of the most, like, that part was like one of the most frustrating parts. Is this individual explicitly said, do not use this to identify levels of fat or like adipose tissue in an individual. It's not for that. Yet here we are 200 years later, which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
Still using it to diagnose individuals of obesity.
Right. And then we'll get to this too, but then shaming those who have this nonsensical BMI obesity diagnosis and telling them that if they get to a normal BMI, that will suddenly fix all life's problems.
That's how it works.
It's so bizarre.
Once your weight is nicely ratioed to your height, that's when you're healthy.
And isn't it true too, Emily, that it's more fatal to be in the underweight category than to be overweight or obese? Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was a true thing too.
Yeah.
So why are we so hyper focused on people whose BMI is in the 30s when we should be taking care of those who are struggling with like an eating disorder or rapid unintentional weight loss, or those who are elderly and losing weight for no reason and are at high risk of death? Like,
yeah, I feel like it's
just the priorities.
It's a good reflection of the fat phobia still very present in today's society and how we still associate, their BMI, even though we already noted that BMI is not a good indicator off the bat.
Yeah.
But if their BMI is 18, I'm sure some physician is flagging that. Someone's got to be flagging that. But like they're more concerned about telling any overweight individual that they need to lose weight rather than anyone who's underweight. And I think we learned this where in the elderly population, you actually want to have a higher BMI.
Yeah, I got that in the BMI is garbage section. We'll get to that.
I did. Okay, perfect. We'll get to that later then.
But yes, our last point on what BMI really is or like explanation of why we use it, I guess more so, is like I just said, it's super inexpensive. All you need is a scale and like a way to get their height. And it's so simple and fast. It's a lot simpler and faster than assessing body composition or even like waist circumference. Waist circumference takes a little bit longer. There's a higher margin of error for those types of things as well. Whereas BMI, we just know it's like height to weight, boom, we can easily diagnose someone based on their weight. But let's get to the real good part of why BMI is garbage.
I am so excited. This is going to be great. I am very passionate about this first bullet point.
Take it away.
So, first reason BMI is garbage, the race bias behind it. Hannah already talked about this, how the data collected to determine the different categories of BMI was conducted on a group of white European men. And if you know anything about research or science, you can't generalize one group of that specific. I couldn't find their ages. They're typically in their 20s. That's typically how the studies go. A 20-year-old, 20s white man, that's normal how the research is. But specifically for this one, you can't generalize an entire global population under this one sample group. Like, men's bodies are different than women's bodies. White individuals or like people who are white have different, it's been shown that they have different body composition kind of makeups compared to Asian individuals, Black individuals, Latino individuals. Every single race has different body composition. Like that's just how kind of they were built. And from a genetic standpoint, they're different. They're not going to all be the same. So kind of generalizing and applying that data to everyone is incredibly unfair.
Oh, yeah. Incredibly unfair. And it assumes that, or it makes the assumption that white men are like what everyone should look like, which is also insanely racist.
I am trying to look like a white man.
Oh, in my dreams.
Yeah. So as you can already see, off to a rough start.
That's why I put this one first, because I knew it would just get them hooked.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say about that. Like, no. I don't know how else you can. It
is inaccurate and racist and 200 years old. And we just can't use it for every population. That's insane. Although, I don't know if this is better or worse, but I've seen different BMI qualifications for Asians. Have you seen that before?
I have, because
it's like
Asians
lowered,
tend to be
right?
Smaller, yeah.
Which is also like, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't know.
I feel like it gets weird, like with people like me who are mixed. Like, which BMI scale would I be on?
That's true.
Would you take the average BMI? I think I looked at it and I like was horrified when I went to the Asian one. I was like, oh my God, it was so different.
Well, that just proves the point though. Like you could be, I don't know exactly, but you could maybe be obese on an Asian BMI scale. And I would argue that your health is not really at risk because of your weight currently. Like, that's
neither of them I'm really taking that much heart to it. Unless we're making sure we're looking at all data points, not just BMI.
Yeah. And actually at the end, we'll go over some different, like more accurate, less biased ways to assess health. Because you might be wondering like, okay, if we don't use BMI, then what do we use to assess if someone's healthy or not?
Yeah.
So we'll get to that later. Stay tuned for the end. But our next reason of many of why BMI is hot garbage is that it assumes that we know someone's behavior and health status based purely on their body size. So fun.
Yay.
So fun. I'm so glad that we use BMI every single day in healthcare. And that insurance, we'll get to that actually. Never mind, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So point number 3 of why BMI is trash. So it sets unrealistic weight standards for both men and women. Women do not weigh the same as men.
Especially like,
spoiler alert, like our body composition, our body fat percentage is just naturally going to be higher.
Right. Like we've got boobs and we have to carry babies.
Yeah. We're not supposed to be, I don't know what they do.
Men don't do, nope, not gonna make it into a sexist thing today. Nope. Okay, hold it in.
I know, I was about to say carry babies.
We carry babies. Our boobs hurt all the time sometimes. It's just like, but yes, let's all make white men the standard to what we have to look like and be like and look up to and who gets to run the world. Okay. I was scared this would happen. We usually try to keep it not political on here, but
it's okay. This is who they probably figured that out, at least from my Instagram. But
yeah.
Moving on.
I don't share too much, but I don't think that we should all look like white men, that's for sure.
No, I'm not trying to be. The other kind of point though, under why setting unrealistic weight standards for both men and women is the strong connection with disordered eating and eating disorders, because there's already an obsession around weight, and BMI is just kind of almost this contributing factor on that bias that you need to be in a specific weight range to be considered healthy. And kind of in Hannah's case, where she works with weight management, people will try to get within different ranges. And there are sometimes I will note when maybe switching between different ranges is necessary, more so for like surgeries, if you're doing a transplant or stuff like that. But that's a different case where they're just trying to optimize to make sure that the organ that they're donating is going to the best kind of specimen. I'm so sorry, I just called the person a specimen.
Ew.
I don't know what donor acceptor, who was recipient. Took me 3 times the charm, but there are some times where kind of shifts in BMI. That's when, but that's like a different case. This is just general living, and there's that fixation. I remember I used to, throughout Purdue, I would calculate my BMI all the time. Why does
that not surprise me?
One, I liked math. 2, I was like, we already know I had like issues. So, and when you give me a number that I'm gonna fixate on, and I would like freak out when it went up 2 points within like a year or 2, and I like freaked out over it. And then there was already disordered eating going on, but that was not helping to everything going on. And I was just like, imagine, and that was like, I was being educated on how to become a dietitian and aware of kind of the behavioral side of it. Like, people don't have that education, and then you kind of give them a tool, and it's very easy to go and find a BMI calculator online, or very easy to calculate if you like doing math like me. But it's just not great because it just coincides very closely with kind of weight overall, and using that as an indicator of health.
Right. And like you said, you lucked out in the way that you were in the process of like learning to be a dietitian. And so you learned that BMI is garbage. But if someone was in your same shoes, but then never went the same path as you, they could like still be here 30 years later obsessing over those BMI points. And their food habits will reflect that, their exercise habits will reflect that, their body image will reflect that. And that is how EDs start. So yeah.
Not great.
Patients ask me all the time. It's so frustrating. And it makes sense because of where I work, but they're always
They
like,
ask you what?
Well, they say, what's my BMI today? And I'll tell them, and they'll be like, okay, now what do I have to like be at to be a normal healthy weight? And I'm like, okay, here we go. Buckle up. I've got a whole rant to go on with you.
Dang.
And it's so hard because in healthcare, it's not just dietitians. Like, there are doctors and other medical professionals and literally everyone else who might not have the same viewpoint as Emily or I do. And so they hear from me or Emily that BMI doesn't matter, but then their doctor tells them they have to be at a BMI of 25 or whatever to qualify for knee surgery or whatever it might be. So it's like
25?
No, that was dramatic. It's usually 40 for knee surgery.
I was gonna say, I've never heard it that low.
No, it's usually 40.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea just stands like there's conflicting views on it, and not everyone knows all these reasons of why BMI is so bad.
No, a lot of people don't. A lot of people
No.
don't even know how it was created.
Exactly.
That's why we're hoping that this episode will be spread around, and you also can educate other people on this.
Make it go viral.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next little point goes back to what we said earlier about older adults. Older adults actually have different BMI specifications because we, as we get older, actually need to have more meat on our bones, because if we fall or get sick or whatever, it takes a long time to recover if we're older. But we also don't want to have any kind of unintentional weight loss when we're older, because that can just really lead to that decreased muscle mass and that decreased quality of life. You can't do your activities of daily living. And so again, the BMI specs for older adults are different. And that just, again, proves the point that BMI makes no sense. Like, how can we just like change the numbers back and forth if you're older, or if you're younger, or whatever? It's just, it's not science-based. It's just a ratio.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add.
Yeah. Just know that if you're older and you're concerned about your BMI for whatever reason, it needs to be higher than 18.5. I think it's 23 is the cutoff for being underweight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. It just keeps adding on and on.
We're not even like, I think we're like halfway done with these reasons. So
these next couple ones are, no, the first one was one of my favorite in terms of the flaws. Yeah. But these next couple ones are, I feel like they really get the point across. So
yeah,
this next one, and I already have an example set up that's going to really just elicit how bad this is. BMI does not take into account muscle mass, bone mass, water weight, your ratio of fat mass to muscle mass, waist circumference, anything. It just takes your height and your weight, and that's it. Let me tell you, this is kind of where, let me tell you.
Listen up.
So Hannah brought up the bodybuilders who have a lot of muscle mass, but they're considered obese because muscle is heavy. That's just how it is. And when you have a lot of muscle, you weigh more. So compared to the average European Joe, like our Sir Founder, I don't want to even try. They're someone of their height compared to someone who like doesn't compete in bodybuilding competition, there's going to be way more, and they've oftentimes, I've seen they're placed in the obese category just because they weigh more, when even though they have an insane amount of muscle mass and they worked really hard for that and tend to have a lower body fat percentage than most people. Their weight is high, so therefore they are obese, according to BMI. Another example that I was originally thinking of, imagine a 6'3" man, just a 6'3" random guy. Do you have that image in your head? Now imagine a 6'3" linebacker in the NFL. Same height. One of them is a professional athlete who is shoving guys all day, 4 hours at a time, constant shoving. His body composition is going to look very different from someone who is not constantly shoving someone. I hope if you're a football fan, I like watching football, but I'm just imagining someone cringing at me saying like shoving people.
I was just going to say, I love how your description of football is people just shoving everyone else around them.
I mean, it's like, I know it's not.
It's strategic shoving.
Yeah. Strategically shoving other guys for 4 hours.
They trained really hard for that.
Yeah. They need to be heavier to be able to put up with that for so long, or else they're going to get thrown to the ground constantly. Yeah. And they're not going to be professionals because I guess you do have to be good. I was going to say maybe you can get by. I'm like, no. Getting to the NFL is really hard. They are not like they need to be built a specific way to constantly do that every single week and during practices. But BMI would consider them all obese because they're like 300 pounds.
And that brings up a good point too, what you kind of just said, like, if we had our skinny mini 6'3" guy and we had our 6'3" linebacker who's 300 pounds, you can't like train that 6'3" skinny guy to become a linebacker. Like, he's just not built that way. Whereas the linebacker's probably always been a big guy his whole life. Emily's face always changes colors. But yeah, the big guy's probably been big his whole life. Like, he was born to be a linebacker. So that just proves the point that bodies are diverse, and there's no way that everybody at 6'3" is meant to weigh the same.
No, absolutely not.
Ugh.
It's fine. We're fine.
I've been fired up 3 episodes in a row now.
That's how we know they're good, though.
Yeah. Season 3 is real controversial. Okay. Couple more points here. The next one we've also kind of touched on a little bit already, but it's just the idea that some medical professionals will dismiss your health conditions because you have a high BMI. Like I've heard of patients going to the doctor for a sore throat, and the doctor just says, oh, if you lose weight, that'll fix all your problems. They don't get any treatment for the sore throat. That's
I feel like
insane.
that happens
Oh,
all the time. Like
all the
people don't
time.
realize how, like, if you're overweight, like in the overweight category, overweight or up, automatic weight loss.
Yep.
Like intervention.
Exactly. No matter what the problem is.
And it's always eat less.
Oh, yes. I had someone today who was a new patient to the clinic, and she said that her doctor has been trying to get her to do Weight Watchers for months. For months, the doctor would just tell her to do Weight Watchers. That'll fix all her problems. I've heard that one. I've heard them doctors have told them to eat 1,200 calories or less, just eat less, like Emily said. I've heard them tell patients to do keto. I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of them do this. They just say eat less because they don't learn nutrition or how to treat obesity in school. Just your regular old primary care doctor likely doesn't have any kind of continued training in weight management or obesity or anything like that. And so they just think that doing Weight Watchers will fix all your problems, even if your problem is a sore throat or lower back pain or whatever.
Oh my gosh, lower back pain. It's always weight loss.
It's always weight loss. Knee pain, back pain. And I think we can say, I don't know the science on this, I suppose, but like there's a correlation.
Yeah. If you're carrying more adipose tissue, it's going to put more pressure on your joints.
Yes.
So they're going to have to work more, and they might hurt. But that's not always the case.
Yeah. And that's not an excuse for a doctor to just say, oh, eat less, that'll fix it. Like, how are we going to overcome that excess adipose tissue, and how are we going to like overcome the barriers in life that are going to stand in the way from that person who is trying to lose weight? Like there's so much more to weight loss than just eat less, move more, which is an episode we kind of already touched on, I suppose, but just telling someone to lose weight and then kicking them out is not helpful.
Nope, it is not.
And so this also leads to people who have higher BMIs avoiding going to the doctor because they're scared, or they know they're going to get upset when they hear this. They know it's going to happen because whenever they go to the doctor every single 6 months or year or whatever, it's the same conversation, and it's probably just miserable. As someone who's never been in a large body, I can't really attest to that, but I've heard so many stories about patients saying this, or even like on TikTok, for example. Yeah. And I could just imagine how terrible it would be to go into your doctor and then just like get mad about your weight the entire time, every time you go.
And like completely disregard your like original concerns, and the option is just weight loss.
Exactly.
That's why we're trying to make a change. And I know a lot of younger doctors are actually more aware of kind of the internalized weight bias. That's very, very prevalent in healthcare. So that's good. That makes me hopeful for the future.
Me too.
But a lot of reflection is needed in all healthcare providers around weight.
Yeah.
Let's get into the next one. We have 2 more for you, and then we'll leave you be for now, unless we think of more for
we'll let you
episode.
Digest all this.
Yeah. So this
one's so bad. This one's so bad.
In 1998, the BMI specification ranges, those ones we kind of defined at the beginning of this episode, they changed. They changed from 27 for women and 28 for men, and then they went down. They were lowered to 25, both of them. So millions of people just became overweight, according to BMI. Or suddenly they've been overweight now. Or they weren't before, but now they are.
Yeah, like if I went to bed tonight and my BMI was 25, and then the next day I woke up and this BMI cutoff changed, I was suddenly overweight the next day. So like
And
all this data for that year shows that the number of overweight Americans like was through the roof because more just naturally fit into the category because they lowered it by like 2 or 3 points.
yeah, and this is what makes me so mad, is this decision was not based for the general, let's say, like, for good intentions. In my opinion, I do not know whoever made the decision personally, but based off of the facts, does not seem like good intentions. It was based off of a report that the change was based off of a report funded by pharmaceutical companies that make weight loss drugs. So if more people and more doctors thought they were overweight and need to lose weight for their health, then they can sell more drugs.
Yes, if based on BMI that they have now changed, there are more overweight and obese people, that means there's more chances for them to prescribe these weight loss meds. Because overnight in 1998, millions more people became technically overweight.
Yeah.
So
And
it
they're
was
probably like,
millions
oh
more
my gosh.
opportunities.
They're probably like, oh my gosh, they were wrong before. I need to lose weight now.
Yeah.
Because the guidelines changed.
This one's so bad.
Like,
It's just, again, another point that this is just a nonsensical number. Like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a number we can change and throw around and like do
yeah.
whatever with.
It
It's
already
not
like
actually...
it like didn't start off great, and it's just like getting worse.
This wasn't that long ago. This whole thing happened in 98. Like we were
Yeah.
only a year old.
We
That was
were
like,
one. We were one.
yeah.
When
So I guess BMI didn't apply to us, but we could have woken up as fat babies the next day because of BMI. I went to bed a healthy baby and woke up a fat baby.
I did not care. I don't think 1-year-old me like knew what was going on.
No, I definitely didn't.
I don't even know what I would do if I was an individual with like a, say like 27, because that would put me in normal range back before 1998. If I had a BMI of 27, then the next year I go into my doctor's appointment and like, how would they explain that to me? They probably say like, a new research study came out and
well, people wouldn't even second guess it. They just hear BMI, they know it's what everyone uses, and they're just like, oh, okay, cool. Like people don't really understand like the depth of it like we do.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it's
calculated. I don't even think we learned about this in school, really.
Oh no.
Like
we learned to use BMI.
Yeah. Which that's another thing to unpack right there.
Purdue, give me a call. Yeah. I remember calculating it like every day. We did it in like our HK classes. We did it in like MNT.
Yeah.
Like every day we were calculating BMI for some like case study or something.
So much. There's so much wrong in so many places.
Yeah. Well, we've got one more bad thing, and it kind of goes along with the one above, I'd say. Actually, it goes more along with the whole dismissal of healthcare. But insurance companies will actually sometimes charge higher premiums for those who have a high BMI because of the whole idea that if you have a high BMI, you're at a higher risk of everything, apparently, diseases and death and all that. So that's a little bias as well, that, you know, even if you are in a larger body that is a higher risk of disease, I just don't think it's right for insurance to do that.
I don't think so either.
That is so wrong.
Yeah.
That's like the same idea as like if you're in a larger body, you have to pay more for clothing. You have to pay more for like extra room on a plane. You have to pay more for insurance now, just because you reside in a larger body. And you're scared to go to the doctor because they're just going to tell you to eat less or do Weight Watchers.
Which is when they then turn to The toxic diet culture, because they're desperately trying to lose weight, because not only is their doctor telling them to lose weight, society isn't telling them to lose weight with all
Everyone.
the fat phobia everywhere. Also,
You
I
gotta-
think some places do charge more for like the bigger sizes.
Well, our clothing company, like they charge more, so we have to charge our people more.
Yeah, which is
like our
frustrating.
customers. Yeah,
I'm like, let us charge them all the same.
yeah. Literally our merch, it costs more for us to sell. Like I think it's like 2x and 3x and above.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So those are the reasons why BMI is bullshit. And why if someone tells you what your BMI is, you should just tell them you don't give an F.
Yeah.
So let's go over some better ways to assess health, because a ratio of height to weight is not it.
Mm-mm.
So we keep saying that like your weight doesn't matter. And I guess we're not even really saying that, because it is true that your body composition does play a role in your health. If you have very little muscle mass and excess fat mass, that is more likely to lead to disease than just being at a higher weight. And so
Yeah.
assessing body composition is a way better way to assess someone's health. But the problem is that body composition is more expensive to test. It is, again, like a higher margin for error to assess. It's just not as easy as like, what's your height? What's your weight? Boom. Here's an
Yeah.
estimation of your risk for disease. But it can be done in a few ways. Like they have like those fancy dancy scales you can get on that assess like your muscle and fat mass. You can do like a skin fold test, which is a little less accurate. DEXA scans, that kind of stuff.
I love DEXAs.
Me too. Remember, were you in the class with me when I got in the bod pod in MNT? Was it MNT or was it a different class?
I feel like it was 438, that weird one where like nutrition assessment.
Yes.
Wait,
yes,
no,
yes.
we had different TAs for that. I remember.
Oh, well, yeah, I got to use the bod pod. It was so cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I got to use DEXA when I was at U of I.
Ooh.
Very scary looking at those results. I had like no muscle in my arms. I was like, wow. Look at my, but like I was like, my legs looked good, but that's because I run. So
Yeah.
like it was a good measure of health for me.
Exactly.
Not that I don't really use weight at all. I weigh myself 3 times a year, maybe, but like it was cool to see if I ever do a DEXA again. I don't know when I'll have access to one, but it was cool to see that.
Yeah, it was cool. The bod pod was cool because it was kind of scary because they had to like, I
You,
had to like
go
strip
in,
down.
like-
Yeah, I had to like strip down. I had to like wear like spandex and a sports bra, and I had to like put on this like swimmer's cap. So I was like in front of the entire class. I looked ridiculous. And then we did the whole thing and it wouldn't even work. So I didn't like even get the results.
What?
Yeah, I was pissed. So I like wore spandex and a sports bra and a swim cap in front of everybody for no reason.
That would
I was pissed.
that would traumatize me.
I just wanted to know because I was like way more into like weightlifting then than I am now. I'm still in love with it, but I was like kind of
Right.
obsessed. And so I like really wanted to know my muscle mass and like my numbers.
Yeah, because
was
like
really
those
sad.
machines are expensive. You don't just have them on
Right.
hand.
I did it like 3 times and it kept saying it like wouldn't work. I think it was probably my fault.
Maybe if
Maybe
you
I'm
ever
just,
go back to Purdue, you'll be like, you owe me a bod pod or a DEXA.
I should get like a year off my loans for that experience.
Contact Mitch Daniels
Or just at least get
Hey.
the interest rate maybe.
just for that.
Just because of I was traumatized. I had to get naked in front of the entire class basically and
I would be traumatized.
sit there for like an hour for nothing to happen. It was terrible. It actually wasn't that bad. I'm not one who was like against wearing spandex in a sports bra. I'd like wear that to the gym on a regular basis. But still, it was the principle of the thing.
Exactly. All that for what?
For what? Just to like know that I am not even accessible. Like maybe I just have too much muscle mass. The bod pod couldn't
It
even
couldn't.
rationalize it. Cannot calculate. We've never seen this much muscle mass.
You were just too built for the
I was
machine.
just ripped to shreds. I was those obese bodybuilders we're talking about. That was me.
Uh, so anyway,
Body composition.
I don't really have anything to add to body composition.
I think that's plenty.
I've got it at this point.
Yeah.
The next measurement that we could use, which I actually like because I feel like this is a bit more user friendly, is
and still
waist
cheap.
circumference and waist to hip ratio. So all you need is a measuring tape, and obviously there's always user error. We were actually trained how to measure waist and hip circumference in some of our health and kinesiology classes, but you'll probably get a general idea. And the more you practice it, or if this is something you want to utilize for kind of seeing changes in yourself, you'll practice and get better at it. So essentially waist circumference is at the smallest area of your waist. It's typically around your belly button or under your ribs. And then hip circumference is the longest circumference around your butte. So you can measure either of them, kind of see if you see any changes there, and then also the waist to hip ratio. Kind of seeing, I forgot. I know there was a standard. There's a standard with waist to hip ratio, and I'm blanking on what it is right now.
I think it's 0.8 for women, 1.0 for men.
That sounds right. Yeah, because I was like, men are boxes, women
Exactly.
have
Women have shape. Reason number 500 why I don't want to be a white male. I'd rather have my curves and little tiny baby calves. Just kidding. There are plenty of white guys who have nice calves.
Like the 6'3" linebacker.
Yes. Now that's curves. Okay. Another way to assess someone's health is their lab values, like their blood glucose levels, their lipid profile, hormones, all those kind of things.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah.
I love labs.
I do too. Okay, last one. I'll just run through it. Our last one is like a dietary recall. So that's what we use on a regular basis, just like getting a really good idea of what someone's eating.
Mm-hmm.
That can help us assess like if they're getting enough of the macronutrients, enough micronutrients, enough water. And so we can't necessarily like see how that's affecting their body necessarily, unless we do get their labs or their body composition or any of that. But it's just a good, easy, cheap way to see how someone's food might be affecting their health.
Yeah. So these are all much better ways to measure health compared to BMI. I highly recommend kind of taking these more into account rather than whatever your BMI is.
Yes. Like I'm pretty sure I'm definitely overweight, if not obese. Like BMI is garbage.
Yeah.
And I would argue that I'm a pretty healthy individual in general.
Yeah.
And also, like, we didn't go over this even, like family history, like that, and like genetics, like, because let's say I'm obese technically, like some would say that I'm at a super high risk now of getting type 2 diabetes. But like, that's probably not true because I have no family history of it. It's not my genetics at all. Again, I'm also a very healthy person. I eat really well, I exercise regularly. And so just because I'm in this scenario obese, I'm not at a high risk for diabetes. It's just not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I'm thinking about the alternate way, because I think I'm in the normal weight range. I don't know. I haven't calculated in years. Who knows? But I have a family history of diabetes. So I'm probably at more risk than you for diabetes. But
well, plus, like, are you using the Asian scale or the other scale? You know?
I'm using the our white European dude scale, not our Asian scale. Made me traumatized me back.
I'm calculating mine right now. I'm calculating it right now. So my BMI is 27.4. So
holy cow, you calculated that so quickly.
Oh, I do it every day, so I'm pretty good at it.
I don't think I've calculated one BMI for one of my patients.
It's not a trait that I'm proud of.
Hold on, I want to calculate mine.
So in the 98,
How
I
much
would have
do
been
I
healthy,
weigh?
but now I'm overweight.
I don't even know how much I weigh.
I'm just guessing. I haven't weighed myself since I went to the urgent care last time I thought I had COVID.
Centimeters is 2.54, right?
I do it the inches way and then just multiply it by 703.1, just way faster. Okay, so take
Let's
your
do
weight.
that. All right,
Take your
I have my
weight.
weight.
Divide it by your height in inches.
Yes.
Divide it by your height in inches again. And then
Okay.
multiply that by 703.1.
That is much faster. Yeah, I'm in the normal range.
Yeah.
But I have a family history of diabetes. So
Right.
I am at risk of diabetes.
And so am I,
And
since I'm
cardiovascular-
overweight.
Yeah. I
We're
have
all
so
at
much
risk.
bad family history.
Mm.
But you wouldn't know. Because I am very privileged within privilege, which is foreshadowing another episode coming up. No.
Yes, we need to do thin privilege, then also fat bias.
Yes.
Which, should we just like combine them? I feel like we should just combine them.
I feel like we
because-
can, yeah.
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 Let us know, guys. What do you want? Do you want to spend a whole hour going up with thin privilege? Because I'm sure we could.
Yeah. And
Just say the word,
I could
we'll do it.
easily do an hour on fat phobia.
Oh, yeah.
So easy to do that. Just
We'll see how the outlines look and we'll decide if we
go
want to
on
split it.
social media. It's awful.
It's
People are
terrible.
so mean.
I just recorded a YouTube video that I'm going to post next week, which will be out by the time you guys hear this, on the whole calorie deficit thing. I'm so excited to post it because every
Now you can
single
refer
person,
everyone to it.
yes, because every single person, well, you know what? No, I'm not going to spoil it. Go listen to the YouTube video if you want to hear my thoughts on a calorie deficit.
Yes. Go check out Hannah's YouTube channel. If you have not already, go
It'll be out
subscribe
by now.
and like all of her videos.
Yeah. Thanks, girl.
So let's give our final thoughts. BMI is just a starting point, and it's one data point. And there is much more to health than your height to weight ratio. And we should not be using it to diagnose obesity.
Yeah, it's a 200-year-old ratio equation
That
created
wasn't even meant for it.
by an astronomer.
Who even told everyone, he was like, hey guys, just doing this for kicks and giggles.
It's a Saturday. I'm bored.
Let's take all these European dudes. Like, we should not use this for our diagnosis process.
Leave it to
Here
us.
we are.
Leave it to us. And I think it was 1980 we started using it for like the diagnosis of obesity. Leave it to us. This is a really dumb question that I don't know the answer to. Do they use BMI in other countries in the same way that we do?
I feel like they don't.
So
I
it's
feel like
probably
because
just Americans.
I feel like it's an easy way to categorize Americans and not only blame the increase in weight and time, increasing obesity prevalence, but it's an easy way to like categorize all the prevalence of that and then sell drugs for weight.
You guys know those like, oh, those terrible pictures of the United States where the states are different colors based on the amount of obesity. Those are just based on BMI. That's all it is. So like all those red states and yellow states, it's just based on the ratios of heights to weights in those states. Doesn't say
That's
anything
it.
about health.
Nope.
And as we know, BMI is insanely flawed. And so in that way, those charts are insanely flawed.
Yeah. There could be a whole state of professional athletes and they would be considered obese.
I just feel like this episode is very woke of us. We're just being very woke today.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of controversial things that I feel like 5 years ago, people were not talking about as much. But that is why we are here. Because We're not going to sugarcoat it.
No, I mean, 5 years
Anyway.
ago, I would have seen that American chart of like all the obese people in Alabama. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got to do something about that. Make
Yeah.
them eat vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
That was absolutely my mindset 5 years
Yes.
ago.
And then you start going into the field and start. This is a conversation for another time, but we had some critical thought, which people don't think dietitians have. But we had some critical thinking process. So we're like, is this the best we can do?
That's another good point. People just think that we're just having everyone eat more veggies and, you know,
and funded by big pharma.
Big corn, big sugar.
I have not gotten my salary from big. Where is my stipend from them?
Big gluten. I've gotten all these in my TikTok comments.
Big gluten.
Big gluten.
We do not make enough to be backed by that.
Right. If big gluten or big corn want to pay me, I will gladly accept it, because at this point, it's not even worth being woke when everyone still hates us. Anyway, that's another episode. We've got content for just like decades.
Yeah.
You guys are never getting rid of us.
Yeah. It'll be great. So
we're gonna be in our 60s doing this.
I'm gonna be like ranting about BMI when I'm 60. I'll be like, why is this still around?
Because you know it will be.
Yeah. Someone will remember it.
Oh yeah. Bonus question. Okay, this one, Emily, is your time to shine, because I don't have a huge preference on this, but the bonus question is hot Cheetos or Takis? Which one is better? And of course, like, why?
I love both of these. If anyone wants to send me bags of these, send them my way. You'll automatically be my favorite person. I am team hot Cheetos because that was a childhood staple that I just grew up with. Not because I was allowed to eat them, because my parents were the type that was like, no junk food in the house. So I had to enjoy it at my friends' houses. But I feel like the crunch is better with hot Cheetos. Also, you know this, I hate getting my hands dirty so much. I despise it. Hot Cheetos are easier to eat. I think you've seen me do it where I stick my tongue in the bag.
Yes, I've seen this.
I debated making a TikTok of that. I was like, does anyone else do that? A girl at work that I work with does it. Maybe I will do a video like that.
You're not alone.
It's just absolutely roasted like my hot chocolate video.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was one of the roasters, so I take blame for that one.
That's okay. But hot Cheetos are easier to eat without a hand. More crunch factor. Also, I feel like Takis, sometimes they put too much seasoning. And I'm just like,
whoa.
They stain my hands sometimes. And I'm like, this is too much. But I will never say no to either of them. Fun fact though, I can eat almost an entire bag of hot Cheetos without any sips of water.
That makes me a little scared of you.
I had a video when I was like not eight. I was in sometime in middle school, where my friends recorded me just eating bags of Cheetos. And they're like, I was for some reason in competition with my other friends who takes a sip of water first.
I would have been scared of 14-year-old you.
That is my superpower to this day, is I can handle any amount of hot Cheetos without water. I might start sweating and crying, but I will not do it. So yeah.
That's impressive.
What about you? I don't think I know this answer.
Because I've never had a Taki before in my life.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go.
I know.
I don't know. Do they DoorDash Takis?
I don't know.
I will somehow get Takis to your house.
Well, the thing is, I don't eat a lot of spicy foods because I don't like being in pain when I eat. And I just can't tolerate it. I really, really, really want to like hot foods. I can appreciate how good they can taste and that it can really just be a whole different world of food I don't get to enjoy. But no matter how much I try, I've been trying for a long time to like it. I just can't like hot foods. So I could eat a couple hot Cheetos and enjoy it. And I appreciate how good they are. but I can't eat more than that without being uncomfortable and wanting to like chug a glass of milk. So I, by default, have to go with hot Cheetos. I've never had a Taki, but that answer is not very dense or credible or should be used for anyone else's decision to eat a hot Cheeto over a Taki.
Well,
It's
I
not
think
influential.
they have small bags of Takis that you could get.
Okay.
Does Ross like hot things? Because if you don't like
Yeah.
it, you could give it to him. Okay, perfect then. You could give it to him if you don't like it.
I think he likes hot Cheetos. We've got like the variety packs before that will come with like the hot Cheetos, and he'll eat all those.
Oh, I was gonna say the variety pack of hot Cheetos. What is that?
No, it's just like if you get like a big old thing of chips and it comes with like the Lay's and the
Right.
Fritos. I'll have like hot Cheetos sometimes, and he eats those, and I eat all the boring salty stuff.
Those are still good.
Still good.
Any salty chip is good. I'll
Are
take
you more
them
sweet
all.
or salty? I don't think I know this about you. Maybe
I
do.
switched to salty after college.
I did know that. We talked about this. Yes.
Yes,
It's the same.
which was not good for my health because I had access to dessert at every meal when I was in dining courts. Not to say that eating dessert is bad. It was just did not have a good relationship with food, and I harassed that dessert. I abused my access to food. But yeah.
Yeah.
I know whenever we'd eat together, we'd always get dessert. But it was
Oh.
like fun because you'd come to the dining courts. I felt like I was like bringing you out. I was like, come to my restaurant, Windsor Dining Hall.
But like I loved it because man, I like packed my lunch that day.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss the dining courts. Purdue has good dining court food.
Yes. I kind of want to go back just to like experience the food again.
Me too.
We're
Me
like
too.
we were known for dining courts. Like I think there was a ranking. We were in top 5
Oh.
in the country.
Yeah, I worked
top
at one of
10.
them for like my entire time there. So that's definitely a fact.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Okay,
We
I don't
need to
know how
get
we
you
got
Takis
there.
somehow.
Yes.
We'll get you Takis somehow. I don't know how. Maybe I'll like give
Well-
Ross money to go buy you Takis.
Maybe they'll just sponsor us and then we can both get free Takis. and
I
hot
would
Cheetos.
absolutely take a Taki or hot Cheeto sponsorship at any time.
You don't
I will
even need like a
support
paycheck. We just need like actual
No,
like the
just
product.
just give me bags of either of them and I will be happy.
We will give you a shout out just to send us like just a bag each, even not even like ridiculous quantities.
And then we can do a live of Hannah eating Takis for the first time.
Like when I had the Big Mac for the first time. We both had the Big Mac for the first time.
So yeah,
Whenever
we
you
should
come next, I should not have them till you come visit next. We can do it together.
Or you can, I feel like you could do it before. I'm sure there's something else you haven't had that we could try. I feel
Sure.
like I don't want to, you have to wait to experience Takis.
I've made it 25 years and not had them. I think I can wait a few more months.
We just don't know that. I will. The first time I had Takis was at Bobby's house and they had like a big bag and I ate like all.
I love
So like,
like potato chips and like that kind of stuff. So I can appreciate how good those are.
Yeah.
Like,
they
if I
are
like
very
spicy-
hot. I will note. From a hotness scale, they might be hotter than like hot Cheetos.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
But I think it's because of the amount of seasoning. They put
Mm.
so much compared to hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should wrap this up because
I don't even know. We always do this.
So we hope you enjoyed today's episode about BMI. Let us know your thoughts. Also, let us know kind of your thoughts on that thin privilege fat phobia episode. If you want 1 or 2 episodes, we can obviously do a part 2.
Yeah.
Without, we could probably make an entire episode about that, or at least an entire podcast about that. But thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
I'm glad we're just like letting it happen now. We're just committing to it.
I'm just gonna claim I'm seeing you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode of the Up-Beet Dietitians with your hosts Emily Krause and Hannah Thompson.
We appreciate you all so much for continuing to support us. In order to support us and sustain the success of this podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review.
If you'd like to provide us feedback for future episodes and guest stars, follow us on Instagram at the Up-Beet Dietitians.
Lastly, you can show us support by providing a monthly donation using the link at the end of our bio.
Once again, thank you so much for listening today, and stay tuned next Wednesday for a new episode. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.